I had the chance to get recently a couple reissues by Fender, and I thought I would make a review where I compare all three of them, and I compared them also, A/B them against a regular Strat and standard maybe. Just for those who are interested in getting something that sounds vintage, but that's not extremely expensive. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to compare them all, and I'm going to tell you, under a player's perspective, what are the most notorious differences. Now, this is not supposed to be a video in which I'm going to go through each one of the through the detailed specifications for all these three guitars. This video is more intended to be a player's perspective. At the end of the video, I will make a comparison where I will play in clean mode and also with some dirt, so you can hear the different guitars' tone and how they compare to one another. So let's begin. The first guitar I wanted to show you today is this one. This Strat is a reissue from the 50s. It's called ST57. It's made in Japan. It says crafted in Japan in the back, which along with the serial indicates that it comes from the early 2000s. And I recently got it along with this other one guitar, which is another Japanese guitar crafted in Japan, so same dating, same very similar serial number. And this one is an ST62, so it's a reissue of the 62. The first thing that I noticed when I got these guitars, and I'm going to compare them to, like I said, another reissue, was that they played very, very well. Like, they are extremely comfortable guitars, but there's a couple downsides that may not make them the ideal instrument to take to a gig or something. The other guitar that I wanted to compare today is an old friend that I've used in a previous video, which is a Mexican reissue of the 70s Strat. Notice the big headstock and the 3-bolt backplate and all that. So let's begin. Alright, let's begin with the differences between these two, which I believe are the closer ones. These are the ones that play and feel the closest. If we flip them over, you'll see that the 57 reissues got this stripe in the back for stability, and this one does not. When I play them, when I feel the neck, I would say that they feel very close. I would say maybe this one the 57 seems a little bit bulkier, but nothing that will compromise playability. Of this, I don't feel that way. This one is obviously maple, and this one is rosewood, and they both have a 4-bolt plate. If you're familiar with Fender's history, you'll know that the 70s is the only time in their production line where they moved away from the 4-bolt to the 3-bolt and the micro adjustment. Some people like it, some people don't like it. I personally liked it. I don't know exactly why. Maybe it's just because I was born in the 70s myself and I dig it. Other than that, these two guitars are very similar. Same type of, like I said, same playability. Oh, yeah, the pickguard is a little different too. This one is a 3-piece. I don't know if you can see it from there. And this one is a single piece. If you know guitar player Eric Johnson, this guitar feels very close to his guitar. Actually, his guitar was based on this one, if I'm not mistaken. I had his guitar. I had the American version, obviously. I don't know if they made any other. And when I got this one, when I first got it, I thought it played the exact same. So, very comfortable guitars. Now, outside of these obvious differences, you'll see that the tuners are also the classic ones in both of them. And okay, so the first difference that I noticed was when I was playing, the pickups are also original to these two guitars. I've never played a guitar from this era because they are extremely expensive. I've never played an actual 57 or 62. I've seen them in pictures and that's all about it. But I can tell you that I can notice a big difference between the pickups on this one and the pickups on this one. On this one, the pickups are really low gain. So even if you're playing with distortion, it full gain, it kind of feels like it's only like a tube screamer type of distortion. Well, I never use really high gain. But with your average gain, that you'll feel like you're rocking out and you get this extra sustain, with this one it still feels pretty clean. That's not really a bad thing. I actually like it a lot because you still get the dynamics. You hit it harder and you get, you know, the response, but something to be aware of. This one, even though they are still low output, you can feel the difference. On this one, there really is more bite and more distortion, and it gets a little more saturated because they're gainier. And I opened up the pickguard in both, and they seem to be original. So I guess that's the way they are. Other than that, when I play them, they feel really close. Outside of cosmetics, of course. I really like the looks on this one. The tobacco sunburst, the one-piece pickguard. It feels like very authentic, and I really like that. Also, if you're familiar with Fender Japan and Fender Mexico and so forth, you probably know by now that their guitars are a little different, the way they manufacture. The ones in Japan usually play fantastic, sound fantastic, look great, and not that the others don't, right? But they are really well-made instruments. Seems that they are made to last. When I compare them to this one, even though I love this guitar, it's one of my favorite ones, this one feels a bit more raw than these ones when it comes to finish and details and all. This one seems to be like perfect in every way. This one is very good, like seriously good. In my previous video, I compared this one to one that was identical but made in the US, and I liked this one better. Personal opinion. You may disagree, and that's fine. But if we get picky and we look really closely, these ones are a little better made. Since I have this one in hand and it's very similar to the other one, I'm going to show you the differences between these two. If we flip them, like the one from the 60s, this one has also the stripe. It's supposed to be the place where they get the truss rod in, or that's what I've been told. Some people say it's for stability. That's one thing. Notice how here we have 3 bolts and here we have 4. Backplate is missing on this one, but that shouldn't be like that. And overall, there's not much more than that. They have both the comfort cats just in every Strat. If we take a look at this side, the hardware is roughly the same. There's one difference here. The vintage tuners are a little different. They are both vintage. As you can see that this area over here is really tiny. But these ones have the big F. And these ones have the stripes. So 70s exclusive type of feature. And about the picker, obviously this one has the three layers, just like any other Strat. I think only in the 50s they made it like this, but don't quote me on this because I'm not really certain of that. Electronic wise, this one has a real low output pickups, and they are noisy. Now, a couple of things about that when it comes to pickups. If you have a Strat or you've played in a Strat before, you know that you have 5 positions, right? 5 position switch, and it means that you get this pickup both together, this pickup both together, and this one. That is something that was introduced in the 70s, which means that in the 70s you still had guitars that went both ways, three-way switch and 5-way. In fact, the American version of this one comes with both, so you can change it if you want, but it comes stock with the 3-way switch, and they also get you in the case the 5-way, in case that you want to change it at some point. Now, why I'm saying this? There's like 3 steps when they were making the guitars. The first one is when they had the three position, right, without mixing the pickups. The second step is when they started mixing the pickups, and the third step is when they started switching the phase on one of them, which means that if you get the second or the fourth position, meaning these two or these two together, they get noise cancelling. Now, that's not the case until I think the 80s or late 70s, so something like that. Again, don't quote me, this is probably extremely inaccurate, but around that area. Before that, they were still noisy. Even if you get into the positions where you get 2, they still are noisy. So this guitar has that. It's always noisy. You never get the cancellation. I guess you can switch pickups if you will, but right off the bat, you don't get that feature. These ones, which I actually expected that they will be a 3-way, they are actually a 5-way position, but they are still noisy. So, you know, they didn't do the 3-way, which is the original way, the way they should be, but at least they got them to be noisy. They didn't give you that technology thing. So that's alright. I'd rather have the 5 position than the 3, but if you're looking for a very close representation of what it used to be, it should be a 3 position. Now, here's the thing that to me is not a deal breaker, but something that really makes me lean towards one or the other. You will notice that on the 70s, we have the truss rod over here. It's called a bullet. That's how people call it. The bullet truss rod, which I think it was a genius idea. It sticks out, it's really easy to reach, it works like a charm, and you can adjust it at any time. On the other two, let me get this one over here. If you can see this one, it looks like there's a hole there, but there's not. It's just a piece of wood. The truss rod adjustment comes over here, and this one doesn't even have anything on the headstock to fool you, so it's the same exact deal. It comes over here. Why am I pointing that out? Well, that's not a very practical feature at all, and I'll explain you why. As you know, if you've been playing guitar for a while, temperature changes, maybe a change in the gauge of the strings, even just leaving your guitar hanging for a while may produce your neck to move a little bit, to get more flatter or get bowed. Maybe little changes, but they will raise your action and change the way it plays. And the way you fix that is just by adjusting the truss rod. And it doesn't have to be adjusted a lot. You just make a subtle move and it makes a whole world of a difference. Now with this one, you simply can't do it that easy. What it would take 5 to 10 seconds on the 70s version, on this one, it could be, well, 15 minutes. Because you have to loosen the strings first, and bolt the neck, make the adjustment, bolt on the neck back again, restring the guitar, and check if you got it right. If you did not get it right, guess what you have to do? Exactly, the whole thing all over. If you have experience working with these guitars, or you have experience moving your truss rod and you have it dialed out in your head, it will not be very difficult, but there's no way you're going to do it without unbolting, unless you want to remove the whole pickguard, which seems even like a bigger mess because you have to remove all the screws, and then it never fits back again, and you have to move the cables around. So it's kind of a nightmare, which for me, if you want to play gigs, maybe I would not recommend to take this guitar every night out, because eventually you're going to have to readjust it, and it's a pain. And the thing that makes it even more dramatic is that if you unbolt and bolt on back again the neck too many times, you may risk overscrewing any of these four guys, and that will kind of like make a big mess. So it's important to get it right. So that's to me the downside of this one. And the 52 and the 57 and the 62. If you don't mind having that type of adjustment, then that's fine. It might be the right one for you. I don't dislike it because of that, but to me it's a big downside. Another difference when playing is this one, I don't know, there's something very comfortable about playing this type of neck. It's a bit chunkier than the 70s one, and I really dig the looks of not having here hole. So it's kind of, I know I'm going back and forth with that, but the neck is extremely comfortable. I cannot stress that enough. However, it's not an shredder's, meaning that the curve is really pronounced, and if you want to adjust the strings really close to the fretboard, you can't forget about making any bendings, which is kind of takes away all the fun, right? So those are the downsides, but still really comfortable guitar, very comfortable to play, fantastic sound. It's just, I don't know, I love these two guitars. They are just great. And now I would like to give you some difference also with the standard. This is a Mexican standard. If you're familiar with this, you probably know, but I'm just gonna point out the differences so that you have a clear, more fresh vision. In the back side, everything looks pretty much the same, except for the tuners, which this one has the modern ones, and this one's got the vintage 60s, 50s-ish tuners. And from this side, also of course, it's got the stripe. From the front, you can see that this one's got the type of truss rod that we didn't mention before, which is the recessed one, where there's a hole, all you see is a hole, and then you use your Allen wrench in it. I like it just fine. I prefer the 70s over this one. The truss rod thing, I think it was a fantastic invention. I don't know why it went away. I'm sure there was a reason, but I wish it didn't. Playability wise, the neck on this one is a little flatter than this one and the 70s, so you can get your string a little closer. And the pickups in Mexican guitars, meaning Mexican struts, standard struts, not reissues, are insanely loud. Well, I will say this one is probably like at least 2 or 3 times louder than the 70s. This is without a doubt much louder than a US American standard. And I think I made a video also comparing the American standard with the Mexi, just to show how much louder Mexis are. And it's not this one in particular. All Mexis seem to be boosted really, really bad. When I decided once to see what was behind that, so I removed the pickguard and I took a look at the pickups, and I noticed that in the back of each pickup there's like a huge magnet. So I guess the extra volume may come from there. Other than that, on this one you do get the benefit of the 5 switch out of phase, I think it is, humbucking effect. So when you get these two pickups together, you get no noise. Here's noise, in the middle is noise, here's noise, but when you make any combination, it completely goes away, which is great, because if for whichever reason you're playing rhythm guitar and you switch to distortion and you want to play a solo, you don't get this awkward buzzing every time you're not playing or trying to keep silence. So that's pretty good. Another difference, and I buy everything used, but I'm going to talk about price, is this one I got for $280 used. Everything I buy is used. It's really rare that I buy anything new. It was basically like new, but and half of the price, tax included, everything, $280. So fantastic sale. I was lucky on this one, but you can get this model any day of the week on Craigslist for about that price, maybe 20 bucks more, 30 bucks more. So this is a great buy. If you have a chance and you're looking for a Strat, the standard Mexis are really good. I've heard some people on YouTube complaining about them, that they are not well finished, they don't play good. I respectfully disagree. I think they play fantastic, they are cheap, they are good. It would be very difficult to differentiate between a Mexi and an American just by feel. Like if I close my eyes and I get one of them and then the other, it would be really hard, even playing and hearing the sound. Unless, of course, I hear one right after the other, and then I go for the louder one, which is the Mexi. But other than that, they are very similar. Actually, we could make a case on that. If you swap the pickups on a Mexi, I don't think I could make a difference unless I look at the headstock. So that was my video for today. I know that I'm comparing guitars that are not necessarily from the same exact family, since two of these, this is the 50s and the 60s, are made in Japan, and the 70s and the other one, which is current, is 2012, are Mexis. But like I said before, it's just to give you an idea of what you can find. The features, though, even if you find this model, the Mexican version, you're going to see that the features are almost identical on this one. The construction will vary a little bit, but the general idea, and I think all the things that I mentioned, are probably going to be the same. So these are the guitars for you today. I'm going to play a couple licks so you can hear them, and I hope you enjoy the video. Thank you for tuning in. Feel free to leave any comments down below or ask me any questions you may have, and I'll see you in the next video.